Put your smile on.
Welcome to the Speaking Podcast. You can find all our episodes on speakingpodcast.com. We're on BitChute and YouTube, the Speaking Podcast. I also have the Awakening Podcast, the Meditation Podcast, and the Learn Polish Podcast, and all can be found on roycollin.com. Today, my guest in Australia, Brisbane, I believe. Please welcome Frances Cahill.
Thank you so much, Roy. I'm really excited to be here. It's cold night. Well, as cold as it can be in Brisbane, I guess. I'm so looking forward to speaking to you in Poland from Brisbane. Wow.
Yeah, and it's a sunny early morning here. Well, it's 10 o'clock a.m. So, yeah.
Oh, I love the global thing. It's my turn now to introduce myself, I suppose.
Yes, and I always like you to tell the audience, who's Frances? Yeah.
Yes. Who's she? I have a number of titles, I suppose, and labels. The one that I would like to discuss with you today is that I'm your fear disruptor. In terms of public speaking, a lot of people are held back and find a barrier to just contributing to life, not necessarily job interviews or anything like that. And I am your fear disruptor. I have developed over a number of years a range of very simple mental and physical things that you can do when you can feel the fear rolling up, to just take the stock of where the fear spiral is and stop it, even for just a minute, so that the next word can come out and the next word can come out. That's it. That's what I'm doing today. I've got handy 33 ways and 10 top ways, etc. But I have found a majority of people that I've been working with over the years, sometime usually in about grade 5 in primary school, elementary school, where they were given an oral presentation and it went very badly. And ever since that time, they remember that, and the fear in their body is remembered. And every time they get up to speak, it's like Mrs. Hill didn't help them again. And so for me, it's really important that we, recognize what maybe caused the fear, decide that whatever happened then isn't happening now, have some ways to be able to address that, and start looking at making a contribution in your own life. And that, picking up the phone and talking to, I'd like to register a complaint, or to make your order for something, or to answer the door, or talk to somebody other than the cat, I suppose. And you met my cat, Roy.
Beautiful cat.
So that's what I'm about. My background is Socio Linguistics. My academic background is Socio Linguistics, which is obviously the study of language in society. I have a long and fairly checkered career as a performer, community theatre and session singing type performing. And I've written and edited things for about 30 years. So words really a passion, and being able to help people use their words and giving them a way to express themselves. That's me.
Interesting, very interesting. And, you mentioned, children being traumatized in school. I remember, I don't know what age I was 13. I know I was shy prior to that, but I remember the teacher, basically we had an exam and stood me up in front of everybody. And it was like 30 in the class. And he said, I think I came last in the class, and basically said, my grandmother would do better than that, and she's been dead 10 years.
Oh, God. Oh, my heart's... It's disgraceful.
Yeah, and there's a lot of people. The thing is, it's okay now to laugh at it. And I actually met years ago, maybe 20 years ago, I saw him inside in a shopping mall. And my first thoughts was to go up and give him a dig in the head. And then I just thought, I thought, because I saw him traumatizing everybody. And then I just thought, no, I'm better than that. I just turned him off. But I didn't even go up to him because he didn't deserve to talk,
No.
But loads of people, when you talk to people, the amount of teachers that abuse the students.
Yes.
And there's nothing done about it. People just let their kids go off to school and just say, yeah, let them look after you now. No, you need to know what they're talking about and what they're doing.
Exactly. And as you've said, that stays with the kid. Those moments of trauma, those moments, they stay with them. And to me, that is the greatest tragedy, is that people are being held back from feeling comfortable in their own skin, from being able to engage happily and confidently and all that sort of thing. Doesn't mean you have to turn out into a raging extrovert like me who'll talk at any moment. But it's, for me, it's the capacity to be able to speak when you need to or where you want to.
No.
And a lot of people, no, I can't open my mouth. And what was his name? What was the, should we mention his name?
Mr. Carey, yes. Carey. In Skull
Mr.
Creek
Carey.
School. So basically the school I went to is the Prime Minister, the leader of our country went to the same school, and it's called College de Creastry, which is the College of Creastry in Turner's Cross. And he was Mr. Carey. I have no fear in talking about it, because, but the thing is, my parents, like I went to a school, and my mom intentionally brought me to so-called the best school because there was 3 schools nearer, and like it was 40 minutes away, so it was far. And the amount of teachers that, like, an Irish teacher was an alcoholic. There was others, they'd come in, like English teacher, he'd come in, open a book, read that and leave. But because he was the sports star and was involved in sports, it was accepted. God. And yet that was like, so the other schools were worse than that. And like, when you talk to other people, they're all going, yeah, we had the same. And everybody has a story like that. And the thing that kind of boils my blood is that a teacher tends to have a job for life. Whereas they should be actually, the students should be actually going at the end of the year, yeah, he actually turned up 20% of the time, or he done this, he done that. And then they're gone, they're kicked out, and because there was some really amazing, passionate teachers. So like, just going back to the history, I changed teacher 3 years later and started getting 100%. So in becoming first. So it wasn't my ability, it was the fact that this guy used to just scream at me and just terrified. I used to be terrified going into his class. Incredible toxic sort of environments that kids are expected to thrive in. It's absolutely impossible. And to me, and it'll sound a bit sort of wussy, I guess, but to me, teaching our kids, teaching any generation of kids, is the most important job. The most important job you have. And it's more than just teaching, maths and science and all of those sort of things. It's shaping little humans to be confident, productive people in the world. Yes, it is. I'm with you in the blood boiling. I don't know how to fix that, Roy. But I mean, from my research, because my other podcast is exposing a lot of corruption. It's orchestrated. Yeah. It's been orchestrated for years, more than since I went to school. I mean, I went to school in the 70s, so like it's gone back further than that, and it's all orchestrated. And now they're even bringing in crazy stuff. Like they're starting to teach sex education to children that are in kindergarten. It's like, yeah, exactly. You're shaking your head. It's like, no, this is wrong. And like, the teachers are just compliant. So they're part of the problem. They need to, no, this is wrong. Yes. Yeah. Look, once again, I can't fix it today. I'm sorry, I can't fix it today. But I think awareness is important. But what you said is like, from the children, getting in at the children, because like my son is 7, and like, I'm teaching him magic. I'm just teaching him to be confident. And like, if you go into a shop, you go up and buy that. You go up because I know that I used to be terrified of going into a shop and anything. And the trick is, they don't even realize it at that stage, but they're becoming confident. So I think a parent has to, instead of assuming the teachers are actually bringing them up, making them competent to be able to speak eventually and everything. No, it's the parents' role to do that. And taking that point, I have found, I also at one stage in my career was a teaching principal for a drama school for children. And I found, when parents were bringing in their children to introduce them to me for the first time, and the first thing, well, she's shy. Yeah, well, conditioning them. Yeah, that's a label. Yeah. And the kids, I mean, certainly there are extroverted kids and there's introverted kids, etc. But in terms of play and drama, and just the sort of routines that you are applying with your son, and I'm hoping that everyone will be applying with their children from this day forward, Roy, is that
encouraging them to take the steps, encouraging them to have a chat, encouraging them to say yes and introduce themselves. Hello, my name's Fred. You know, that might take a lot of effort, but if mum's standing there or dad's standing there and just with a gentle hand on the shoulder, would you like to introduce yourself, Fred? Yes or no? Well, if you don't want to, I will, make it into a conversation. Go up and order ice cream, or go up and whatever it is that you need to do, and ensuring that you establish that it is a safe thing to do by how you introduce it. Go up and order it yourself. Oh, I don't want it. Well, I'm not going to do it.
Yeah, exactly.
No, I'm sorry. That's
not. But to be honest, sometimes you do that. Like, because unfortunately, I see a lot of parents and they just do everything for the child. And then they're wondering why the child then kind of struggles later on. Yes,
exactly, because they're not being made aware that they are capable of this. They're not the idea of we've got to be able to trust our kids and let them know that we trust them, that they're going to be able to navigate whatever the situation is. And of course, you're there as the backstop if the navigation gets a bit off or it does, the child feels overwhelmed. But they're working members of our society as well. Give them their best chance.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, obviously you've got experience in that. I'd like to know the disruption things, but I'd like to know, because, a lot of people have children, or they could have grandchildren or friends, cousins, how with the child, what kind of techniques, that can help them?
Okay. With children, the techniques, the first thing, don't introduce your child as being shy. The second thing, and this should go up to number one, is don't say in any situation, will you be okay? Because you're then implying that the child will somehow not be okay, or will somehow be in danger. The number of times when I've taken my children to the dentist when they were younger, and the mum would be hovering around saying, will you be all right? And of course you could see the fear rising, and the kid saying, well, will I be? No, not with my kids and with the drama school kids. We're going to the dentist. The dentist is going to do this, this, and this. I'll be waiting here for when you're finished. Implying, making it so that it's stable, it's confident, it's calm, and it's something that everyone does. Those to me are really important. In terms of, if you have a child who is frightened, don't say, don't be frightened. That's not going to help. For me, the discussion about what is it that you're frightened of? Well, someone will laugh at me. Okay. You don't know what's going to come out of your mouth. You won't be making a mistake because they don't know what you're going to say. Is there a way we can help you prepare for whatever it is that you're going to speak about? Of course, we're now moving into probably the area of bullying and all of that sort of stuff. And that's not something that I can say I'm qualified to discuss. But in terms of, if you have your goal of building your child's confidence and saying to them, you are worthy and you have merit and you are an important person in your own right, to me, that's the thing that we can do. Of course, when we encounter bullying, etc., that's something that a parent has to be engaged with, and there has to be ways to find a solution. And unfortunately, not all of us bring up our children the same way, do we? Another thing we can't fix today, Roy. But for me, it's talking about what they're frightened of, and if they laugh at me, and for you yourself, Roy, when this appalling teacher was stripping you of your dignity in front of the class, where did he get off? That just burns in my heart anyway. But in terms of the discussion of that sort of thing, well, that was that person's opinion, but what's your opinion of yourself? So that you're bringing it back into them so that they can have control of what they're delivering and what they're saying. And of course they want to be liked, and of course they want to be confident. And of course, they want all of those things. But if we take whatever the episode was and talk about and what they're feeling, what are you feeling tight in your tummy? Are you feeling sick? And say, okay, well, how can we work on making those physical things change? And let's not worry about it, because that happened then. And the next time you're going to be speaking, let's work on ways so that that's not going to happen again, that you don't feel that you're frightened, and that kids are great with imagination. And one of the tips that I use for adults, but it works equally well for kids, is just imagine yourself speaking the words and they just come flowing out of your mouth like a bird's song. And if you're feeling tense and you're feeling a bit frazzled, think about the favorite smell that you have. Is it newly mown grass, or is it mum's cake, or is it that favorite ice cream? You just think about that for just a second and allow them then to see that there are ways to fight against the fear triggers that they have in their body. Because the brain is saying to the body, remember this last time you did it. And if you can, kids, you don't have to make it really complex, but if you can get them to look at the reactions in their body and in their mind and think about it, you're already getting them to dissociate the fear with the act.
Beautiful.
Does that help?
No, excellent. I love it. So let's get to the bigger kids, the adults,
the adults
who are clinging onto the lectern and.
Yes. Oh, did you read my thing? Yes. Did you read my one of my posts today? Because that's one of the things that I did. It was Wednesday. I have a Wednesday work it out, and it's one of the tips that I say is put your hand on the lectern when you're speaking and you're feeling a bit breathing fast or whatever. Just put your hand on the lectern. Now that is different to gripping both sides of the lectern like you're under heavy seas to putting your hand on the lectern. And that's the whole thing of having your mind and your body focus on a different physical sensation to interrupt the fear spiral. And that's what we're doing with the bigger kids. And often you have to work a bit harder with the bigger kids because they've been in the fear spiral for a lot longer. And so that there's an auto body responses that are happening every time they even think about speaking in public. So there's 33 ways that I've come up with, Roy, but 10 of my top ones, top 10, they're physical, they're mental, and they're free. And in terms of the fear spiral, that's what we've been talking about. When your body and your mind is responding to an episode in the past that wasn't dangerous, but your body said, this is frightening and I'm in danger. When you're looking at that in the past, okay, you establish that, yes, that was a fear response and my body is now responding again. With adults, you have to do a lot of work on saying why. And I don't want to make an idiot of myself and I'll be a goose and stuff. Well, my first response is no one knows what's going to come out of your mouth until it's come out of your mouth. So you can't say anything wrong. Well, I guess. But the last time I froze, okay, well, that was the last time. And what happened then is not happening now. So it is a constant reinforcement. And we try to make them as fun as possible. And I mean, I'd have to tell you, some of the funniest things, one of my techniques is called the ninja, and it's discussing diaphragmatic breathing and, setting your body up so that it's doing something quite different. So I get a range of people standing up. Now, okay, put your legs, knees bent and your feet shoulder width apart and your arms. And now I want you all to do for me. And I love that part of the class where I have a range of people standing up there doing ninja as I'm leading them in their ninja. And I can guarantee that for that moment, even if they've been petrified for the last 30 years, at that moment, they're having fun. And then I can say, you've spoken in public in a very odd way and you haven't died. You haven't, the fear spiral has been broken for that moment. And if you can do it once, you can do it again and again and again. And that's why I've lined up a whole bunch of techniques that people can use, one or all, depending on the circumstances of your speaking. And I mean, I ran some corporate ones, and the young woman who was in one of them, she was very, very traumatized from a whole bunch of really poorly run meetings, actually. And we did some work together, and she said, I met up with her a couple of weeks later, and she said, you know, Fran, I now can go up to the bar at the pub and confidently give my order. And I thought, I've made it. She can go to the bar and bellow out her order without a problem. When before she'd be, you know, so of course that's not my goal in life for everybody, Roy, but we're talking about contributions here, aren't we? And being a functioning member of society. So in terms of the top 10 fear busters is what I call it. And if people don't want to call it fear, okay, top 10 confidence boosters, or top 10 spiral killers, or disrupting, or, you know, whatever. A lot of people don't want to admit that they are fearful, okay, but they're anxious. So it's I've got it in a little card. I'll show. Where is it? I'll show it to you. There we go. Put it in a little card with 10 on the back, and you can use all or none. A lot of people move towards one or the other, and I really like that. They will choose one that works every time. I say try all of them until you hit on the one that stops the spiral just like that, and you know you can do it again. If you've done it once, you know you can do it again.
Yeah, the sweet.
Does that help, Roy?
No, definitely.
Does that help?
And what was strange for me is, I mean, I was extremely shy. Like, I wouldn't even go into a shop. I'd be giving my friend the money for the sweets. And the bar, same thing. When I was 18, I wouldn't go up to the bar. I used to give my friend the money. It was like shyness by 1,000. You know, it was, yeah, if I want to go back in time and just shake myself and go, hey, why do you care? And, but I did martial arts. I started doing kung fu, I think, at 16, and I had no problem screaming, no problem like doing the kata. I even done shows on, we were even on the television, and I done a demonstration in front of and that was no problem to me. And like, moving on, I mean, I'm only speaking like 4 years, so I went into Toastmasters, but prior to that, like, I'd be in business meetings, and I used to just be terrified when I had to speak. If there was, say, 20 people, architect, client, whatever, I was just terrified. And I went to an event, and there was a guy from New Zealand, and we decided, let's do the haka. And this is an audience of 400 or 500 people. And we learned the haka every morning for 4 or 5 days. And I went up on stage, ripped off our clothes, and screamed the haka. And that was no problem to me. But but now I'm, you know, it's strange like that. I can do that, and then, you know, but thankfully, you know, I just started doing the Toastmasters and overcame my fear. And
sure, absolutely. And now that you've opened another line of conversation, Roy, there's a whole range of steps that I do with my clients as well. And what you have done without doing any work with me, Roy, so I'm really, really impressed, is when you're looking at there's 3 steps that come into play. Is what's your message? What's the message you want your audience to take away? Identify who your audience is, but what role are you playing? And that was the one that jumped out at me from what you were doing then. When you were doing the haka, you were not a representative of your business. You were doing the haka. You were a learner at haka, and now you became, you know, a bare-chested haka doer. Okay, so you've taken the step past the barrier that your mind had built into you were doing something else, and you were going to be the best at that something else that you were doing. When you were doing martial arts, you were no longer Roy, the shy person who couldn't order at the bar. You were becoming an expert in that environment, in that job. the new role that you had was as a martial arts trainee, thereby separating your anxiety or separating your confidence crisis, because this was something that your body was doing and you were learning new muscles, you were learning, so that to me is just magnificent. You're already and then that allowed you, when you did come into being the speaking in public, etc., you bought a different person. You bought a different set of structures to be able to approach that with confidence. You built the scaffold yourself to be able to step into that role now of person who speaks in public. Wow, Roy, you are a walking advertisement. Fantastic.
And what I did is, like, because for speech, I joined a club. It was strange, actually, how it happened. I went to one Toastmaster club and with a friend, because I needed a friend to hold my hand, of course. And
of course.
Loved
because
it.
Yes.
I needed my cushion, my little pillow.
Yes.
And I brought the friend, loved it, knew I needed it. And he enjoyed it too, but he just wasn't going back. And I was too shy to go back on my own. But they opened a new club, and then I said, everyone's going to be new. That was my thought process. Everyone's going to be new. So
yes, exactly.
I went there, and there was kind of half experienced Toastmasters from different clubs, and there was half were brand new. So I just signed up on the day, and they basically said, okay, do a speech for next week. And I just assumed that's what you had to do. But they kind of said, oh, newbie, he'll do a speech. He just thinks this is normal. And I kind of paused halfway through it. The speech, and I had prepared a lot. I had over prepared. I never do the same speeches as I did then. And the funny thing is, during that speech, all the existing Toastmasters, they were all going, oh, brilliant, love this, love that, love that. All the people who weren't Toastmasters, where was the entertainment? It was boring. What was your hands in your pocket? It was like, they just ripped me apart. And I didn't let it not make me, because I think of maybe the martial arts. I don't let people. I'm not offended by things like that. And I ended up using that as a humorous speech about a year and a half later, and getting into the finals of the district in 5 countries, because I actually used it as a, what had happened.
As a new platform. Wow.
Yeah.
That's such a great story, Roy. It's such a great story. And I will be directing people to talk to listen to what you've been saying, because it's such a clear indication of the things that you can achieve by addressing what that problem is, not just saying, oh, I'll never be able to do it. You were in there and you just started, and to be able to use the experience then to build another one, that's just magic. I mean, you don't need me to tell you that, I guess, but it really is terrific, just terrific.
Yeah, no, you can go from one extreme, because I ended up joining 4 clubs in the end, forming a club, being a coach to a club. But what I was doing at the very start, I'd done a Udemy course on public speaking. I started looking at TEDx speeches. I bought a TEDx book. I bought another book. I think it was Dale Carnegie speaking book. And just constant, because if you kind of, same as the martial arts, when you're looking at something, you want to become better. You don't want just trudge through life, because, you can easily just go to a meeting, just take a role and do no homework or whatever. Or you can embrace it. Same with languages or anything. That if you want to improve, you have to actually apply it, and just try to look at different things. So with the languages, actually, I'm interested in that. You might tell me a bit more about that what you're doing in that.
Languages,
like
like Socio Linguistics. Yeah.
That was a big word for me, so I was struggling to say it. So that's why I said language.
Right. Language in society. Okay. The basis of that, it's obviously my love. That's my heart and soul, I guess, is how we use language in society and what constitutes good communication. And that allows then a wide range of what people feel comfortable doing, that if you aren't a wild extrovert, you can still be a self-contained introvert and still get your message across. That to me is of the wide range of things you could be involved in sociolinguistics. That for me is the key. in terms of when a message from one person to another, whether it's written or whether, but I'm obviously focusing on speech and voice, the number of influencing factors that can be involved in just one person speaking to another, and how the message gets across. How well do they know each other? How well has person A prepared the message to get to message B? Is there any check back from message person A to person B as to what the message is? And so it can become so widely, the influencing factors can be so wide that you get lost in the message altogether. So for me, it's really important that if we are talking about making connections with other people, that we look at, you know, from a Toastmaster perspective, you are giving a particular form of presentation. But when you're talking in the pub or when you're answering the phone, there are certain factors that, certain influencing factors that occur wherever you are. And that, you know, reducing that to very simple language is quite hard, I guess, but it's, what do you want to say? Who are you saying it to? Is there any emotion injected into it? Are you giving a shopping list, or are you giving them, in your, you know, the case of the Toastmasters, are you ripping their performance to shreds? Are you thinking about what the effect of that's going to be? If any of those types of influencing factors aren't important to you, my contention is that it's not going to be good communication. It is going to be communication, but it's not quality. And I mean, that's not saying that people shouldn't have those difficult conversations or whatever, but if you are going to approach a difficult conversation, other than Mr. Carey, if you're going to have a difficult conversation, it should be based on you being an emotionally mature person and say, okay, we've got some difficult things to speak about. I, person A, am going to give my best shot at being present in the conversation and delivering the message that I want to give, not responding to emotion unnecessarily, and all of those sort of things. So that, to me, is that sort of it's fairly rambling, I suppose, but a rambling
good, yeah.
summary of what sociolinguistics means to me.
No, brilliant. Yeah. So, just the wording as well. Did you ever study under Ted Nichols?
No,
because that was, because I'm big into marketing and I love the wording and just the way he structure, you know, like headlines and stuff like that, just for the marketing purposes, and it makes such a difference.
Oh yes, absolutely. And that, you know, that's another aspect, I suppose, of sociolinguistics. And in terms of people say, oh, it's just, you know, it's marketing. It is, as you've rightly said, it's influencing your message and how it's going to be received by the person or persons you are delivering that message to. In terms of then, and the fun bit for me, you know, given my theatrical background, is talking to people about the method of delivery, and in terms of how you use your mouth and your tongue and warming up and voice projection, and projection is not the same as volume, and all of those sort of things. That's so much fun. So much fun. How do you, when you're delivering a speech, do you look like you should be there, or do you look like you wish you'd be somewhere else? It is, and Alan Pease and all his body language, yeah, fine. Don't be an armchair expert. If you have slumped shoulders and you're mumbling, you don't care what you're saying. Why should anybody else? And then equally moving that into the marketing area, if you don't care about how your message is going to be shaped or put somewhere, no one else will. You know, what you want that to be in marketing, obviously you're expecting it to be, you want people to remember you, and you want people to remember and for top of mind, all of that sort of stuff. But I'd prefer that people remember some things that I say, particularly if I'm training them in something. I happen to use humour a lot, Roy, as you may have noticed. I use humour a lot, and I find, look, I couldn't deliver a straight speech anyway. I just couldn't.
I think it's, I mean, my best speeches, I've put humor in. I've even done kind of serious topics, but with humor.
Oh, yes.
And people will remember it. They get the message. It's better.
That's
like,
right.
You know, if you have to say something, especially in these crazy times, if you have to get the message across, do it with humor, because you know, people are sick of listening to all the doom and gloom, and it brings their mood down. But if you can hear something, you know, we still need to know, so it's better to know, but in a fun way.
Yes, yes, and they were, yes, if you have them engaged and you've got them in the palm of your hand, Roy, the power of that is absolutely addictive, isn't it?
Absolutely. And I think, because like you've got the theatre performance background, I think it's because some people, they're afraid to get into the Toastmasters, or they just think, I think theatre, they don't have to be doing a play, but they can just go into practice the theatre. I think it's a great way, because one, like, you connect with people. People forget, same in the Toastmaster. Like, I've got great friends from Toastmasters that I wasn't expecting. I didn't think, you know, that wasn't my ambition. That wasn't the purpose of going in there. And I ended up having fantastic friends from it. And around the world as well, because you go to different events and you connect with people and friends in different countries. But I think it's the same with performance. So even if you do want to be on the thing, but even just to connect with people. So you'd obviously have seen that with people, you know, head down and shy, but they forget themselves because they're...
Oh, exactly. And that's one of the topics that I've been banging on about, I guess, in my blog posts and my posts on the Facebook group and the Facebook page, is that community theatre is one way that shy people, or I'm using a label, but people who are fearful of speaking in public, you don't actually have to be on stage. You can be helping with the costumes. You can be helping with, you know, any number of things, or be front of house. Any number of ways where you are engaging with people with a common goal. And that, as you say, it can be accidental, but the sort of friendships and the sense of purpose that community theatre delivers, and it's as a byproduct, and you have enormous fun anyway, but that to me is absolutely essential, that if someone is feeling isolated and feeling in a socially anxious sort of space, you don't have to be on stage to develop that sense of oneness and that sense of, you know, as you said, your comfy pillow. You can go along, and in the majority of cases, I mean, I haven't been in every community theatre company in the world, I couldn't say, but when we're talking about volunteers and delivering plays with, shall we say, a sliding scale of ability in delivery of the thing, I think that's just the best breeding ground for someone to feel comfortable and to feel supported and to feel, and it's not focusing on yourself. You're focusing on the performance, and the performance allows those who do have that ability to come out and be someone else for an hour, several times a week. It's great, just great. I just finished going to one on Sunday, and it was Agatha Christie and the Village Murders, and it was just a community theatre in their little... Is it
Agatha Christie or Agatha Christie?
Agatha Christie, yes, sorry. Agatha Christie.
I was thinking Krusty the Clown, like, or something now.
Oh, Agatha Christie. And the wordplay in it was one of my favourite entertainments, and rolling around tears. And unfortunately, the poor director, as happens in community theatre, you don't have understudies. One of the major roles was unable to come because they were unwell. So we had the director as part of the group with the lines attempting to, didn't lose anything. Not a bit did it lose. The wordplay was fabulous. And I'll always suggest community theatre for people. And you can't get me off stage once I'm there. So.
And I think in that environment, and also in the Toastmasters, when you have the experience, when you've been through it and you know what it's like, when you see the person that's in the back of the room and just, you know, barely engaging, that you just bring them forward and you help them. And when you see them developing, it is such, and it isn't about, you know, the most important thing is you don't want anything. You're just you're seeing that person, you know, like turning into the butterfly. And it is such a beautiful feeling.
It's so rewarding, isn't it? It's just so rewarding. And the steps that they take bringing them in and the steps they take, it's just made, excuse me, I'm going to sneeze. Excuse me.
Well, so
it's real live, Roy. Sorry.
It didn't go flying at the camera, so it's good.
That's right. Oh, I mean, have you done theatre, Roy? Mostly it's been Toastmasters is your performance.
And I did an open mic just as well to push myself. So I did I went because I don't know, I wanted to try everything, and I did an open mic TEDx as well. But it was the open mic comedy was one that I was kind of, you know, stepping past my kind of comfort level, and it worked, and I was like, okay, I like this. Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. Now, that'd be addictive. That'd be very addictive. So, will it be the Roy Coghlan Comedy Hour coming up?
No, I to be honest, it's something that I know that because I don't know, my twisted head or whatever, but I'm able to get everything turn it into humor and just kind of read things. But it wasn't where I wanted to go. But I think that if I wanted to, like there was one guy, he was organizing meetings, open mic for kind of every 2 weeks, but it just didn't work out in the city I'm in, and it just fell apart. But still, you know, I'd encourage people around the world, go away and do it, because what's the worst, you know, and it's fun, you know, just have fun. Absolutely.
And it's some of the best comedy that we see, I believe, is observational. You know, that the comic has, to me, the best comics have the ability to take mundane life, make an observation, and turn it into something, helping us to look at this episode or whatever in a way we never thought of. Just fantastic. Just fantastic. A friend of mine just launched her book, which is a fairly serious book, but she launched it in the Sit Down Comedy Club, which is a place in Brisbane, one of the few places left in Brisbane where you have live comics, you know, and open mic. And so she booked out the place on Sunday afternoon and hired a range of new and experienced comics, comedians, you know, stand-ups. And we had a rollicking time. Oh, it was just magic. People were roaring and laughing, and it was the perfect counterpoint for her very serious her very serious book. But it was, I hadn't been to the Sit Down Club for a very long time. So it was just fantastic. You know, a great MC, and it turned it into a celebration. And that's what was in my mind when I was mentioning it to you, is that the observations that these some not so young comics were making about life, it was just breathtaking, because you think, oh, wow, that's really funny, and I hadn't thought about that before. So I'll look forward to it, Roy. If that ends up being your one of the paths you take, please let me know. I'll be there in the front row, virtually or not. Poland is probably not where I'd be going straight away, but give me a virtual ticket and I'll be there. Okay?
No problem. No, it was actually a brilliant idea for your friends to do that for a book that's serious. You know, that's very creative. Yes. Yeah, I haven't heard of somebody doing it that way before. It was brilliant.
It was brilliant, really good. And she said you all came. It was her birthday as well. She said you all came, you paid to come, and you're buying the book. It's a win. Brilliant. Excellent. I've got a book coming up too, Roy.
Excellent. Love to hear about it.
Yes, it's in its final stages. I mean, I've written it. It's just now getting it printed and all of that sort of stuff. So I'll give you a bit of a taster, Roy. It's called Kitchen Olympics and Other Remarkable Athletic Feats. Now, as a boomer, you're not a boomer, are you? Boomer age group? You're too young.
72.
Yes, you're Gen X, but that's okay. You're close to being.
There's so many Gen X, Gen Y, Gen Z. I've got confused at this stage. I'm like just.
Well, you're just past the boomer, okay? So as boomers, and an arthritic one at that, it's a merry romp through my awkward, clumsy days. And I reckon there is some of us are never going to be Olympians, Roy. We're never going to be close to one. We're never going to be, a champion shot putter. But the things that we do in responding, shall we say, involuntarily responding to things, like when the blueberries roll under the fridge, do you move the fridge to get it? To me, that's an Olympic effort in everyday life. Those questions people have not been looking at. And so I consider that there is an entire set of events called Kitchen Olympics and other remarkable feats that people should read about and join and be very proud to be never Olympians. And so that's where we're going with this. I'll send you a link when I get to that point. I'll be very happy to share that with you.
And I mean, I'll obviously have all the links in the podcast description, but when you send it, then I can update it to have that, because people are constantly listening, all the time. I'm just curious, because as you turned there, I saw your earrings. What's on your earrings?
It's a little bottle, and it's called Sprinkles.
I love it.
Yeah, they're becoming very popular, these sort of things. I got it off Instagram. I'm learning how to be digital. So yes, they move. Can you see that they move inside? Yeah, excellent. And they're quite light. Yes, they're not. It's just a bit of resin, I think. I don't know. I didn't ask how it was made, but it's very cheerful.
I think that's what's life about. Bring cheer to the world,
Yes. yes. All the time. Yeah. Oh, and I should explain why I have very little hair. It's no big deal. In Australia, I don't know whether you've heard of a movement called Shave for a Cure. The Leukemia Foundation every year runs this sort of activity where people get their heads shaved and have people sponsor it. Some people get their hair coloured. Some people do other things, but I got my head shaved. And so I'm very proud to tell you that this is a $2,039 shave. That's how much money I raised by doing that. So
congratulations, that's brilliant.
Thank you. It's and in fact, it's very personal. My cousin, who's one of my, those cousins that you have, they're your first best friends after your siblings. She's actually battling leukemia herself right now. So I said, I can't help you with physical stuff or you're in good hands in hospital. So, okay, I can raise money for this. And the Leukemia Foundation actually helps with practical things, like if a family has to come from rural Queensland or rural Australia and come to the major cities, they have ways of subsidising the accommodation so that the family can stay together and support the patient while they're undergoing chemo, etc. Really practical things like that, and help with paying for patients to be able to be moved around when they can't drive themselves. So all really practical stuff, and it's something that I find a way to do every year. This year it was actually shaving. I don't shave every year, but to me it's really important involving yourself in stuff. And we were talking about, cheerfulness and all of that sort of stuff, but it's also, to me, really important to involve yourself in something that does nothing for you other than the satisfaction, but it is a practical thing that you can help somebody else with whatever help them find a solution. Really important.
No, brilliant. And just on the cancer, because I don't know, was it the previous or just recent episode? I know there was a lady, Caroline Rose, overcame stage 4 cancer 3 times, but really kind of in positive, giving hope. And that's her thing. She's spreading the message, and it's lovely, because some people, they just don't know what to say and everything. So she's kind of telling people, because it's the same on stage. It's all about a word of advice, a little, tap on the shoulder, just being there for somebody. You're supporting somebody. That means so much to them. It's not necessarily the money. It's like, you've got my back. You've done this. I can't believe you've done this for me, and that means so much to people.
Oh, it does. It does. And to me, it's a sign of when you start evolving as a person, to be able to say, how can I help somebody? And it doesn't have to be in money, or it doesn't have to be. So I think that's really important to keep us evolving, and to keep us in a place where we can respond and become resilient to all the things that are happening. If we've got a zero bucket of I don't want to call it good feelings or good vibes, but if we have zero bucket of where we've established some good stuff that we've done in our lives, some positive stuff, if we're then facing something that is asking us to be powerful about something, if we don't have a bank, we're in a lot worse situation, I think.
No,
that was quite rambly, but
no, it's basically fill up your good bucket and have it.
Yes. Thank you. Good summary. Thank you, Roy. You can edit out all the rest of that ramble, and there it is.
That was the best part.
Ramble. Yeah, okay.
No, it is brilliant. Listen, Frances, it's been fantastic speaking to you. Really enjoyed it. How can people get in contact with you?
My website is www.francescarl.com.au, but I'm also on Facebook, and I'd really like it if people would come and join our Speak Easy Club. It's only small just yet, and that's a place where you can come and have questions asked. You know how you type into Google and it says, and you say, what can I do about my fear of public speaking? And you get 1.437 million responses in 27 seconds, or 0.73 seconds. In the Speak Easy Club, if you have a question, send it in and we'll try and come up with a solution just for you. So that's the Speak Easy Club. And the other one then is Polish Your Pitch, which is my actual business page. There's a lot of stuff there that I would like you to wander through. There's some courses, there's a whole bunch of things, but I really would like it if someone could join up the Speak Easy Club and have an answer for their problem with speaking, whatever that is. If you go to my website, you can also get, and I showed this to you before, Roy, you can get a download of the top 10 fear busters. You can also get a download of the 33, count them, ways to disrupt the fear. They're the ways to interrupt the fear spiral. So they're free. Speak Easy Club's free. Polish Your Pitch is free. Come on down. Let's talk. There's ways that we can be of assistance to you.
Beautiful. I love it. Excellent. Yeah.
And it's been a hoot. Thank you.
Yeah. No, I'll make sure all the links that you've just said, they'll all be there. So people, I think that's fantastic, especially the Facebook, that you can go and ask a question and that people are there to help. That's beautiful. Love it.
Yes, that's the whole deal. And I mean, whatever the question is, if we don't know it, we'll go and find out for you. Okay. Generally speaking, though, we can fire a question, answer back at you.
I must think of the most difficult question ever known, right?
Yeah, okay.
Challenge accepted. Brilliant. Listen, Frances.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
And thank you so much. I really enjoyed it. Thank you.
So that's all for the Speaking Podcast. You'll find all our episodes on speakingpodcast.com or on BitChute or on YouTube. Be sure to give us a 5-star rating, thumbs up. Until next week, take care.